Hi, my name is Donna from Elvira Jewelry, and today I'm going to show you how to do a simple wire wrap for crystal prisms. For this project, first we'll need a crystal prism with a hole that's big enough to accept 18 gauge wire, and we'll need about 10 inches of 18 gauge wire and about 8 feet of 28 gauge wire. The first thing we're going to do is find the center point of the 18 gauge wire. So since it's 10 inches, 5 inches is where we need to mark it. Next, we need to cut about 4 feet of 28 gauge wire. And we're going to use that to coil one side of the 18 gauge wire. And for that, all you do is you just hold it there against it and then start wrapping around it. And keep the wraps as close to each other as possible. Sometimes you'll end up with a little gap like there is right there. You just push that closed with your nail and then keep going. And we're going to need a coil that's 2 3/8 of an inch long. If you get a kink in the wire, just carefully pull it straight, and then you can just keep working. I just need a couple more wraps to get there. Okay, it's 2 3/8 of an inch right there. So we're going to cut off the short tail end. And we'll just press that against the wire, against the 18 gauge wire, so it's nice and flat. Now you notice I started coiling at the end. That's because it's a lot easier to do it at the end. But the coil is actually, it actually needs to be moved all the way down here. And now we're going to put the prism on the other end. And slide that down and center it over that mark we made earlier. Now to make the other side go a little bit quicker, I already made the coil for it. So just go ahead and slide that on. Maybe. There it goes. Let's make sure everything's still centered correctly. At this point, we're going to shape the top part of the pendant. And all you do is kind of curl it around. You don't want any sharp bends in it, you just want a nice smooth curve. And you don't have to get it absolutely perfect here, because you can always reshape it a little bit at the end too. It should end so that the end of the coil is a little bit past the edge of the prism. Now flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Just try to line it up with the first one. Now for the next part, you need to curve this around. So hold it on this side so it doesn't try to open up over here, and just bend it around the top of the prism. And take the 28 gauge wire that's still attached to the side and wrap that around the coiled section. Then bring it back around and keep coiling about another 1/4 inch or so. Now we're going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Now, just shape it around the top of that prism still, again. And if you've already got it around the center, doesn't have to be exact, go ahead and attach it again. This is just to keep it on there securely. It doesn't want to go in there though. There it goes. Or maybe not. There it is. And then just keep coiling about another 1/4 inch or so. And then we need to go back and do the same thing on the other side again. Now, as you coil, just keep going around the top of the prism again. And keep coiling till you get to about the middle of that side. Okay, now that we're right about the middle, go ahead and do one more attachment. It'll look best if you can get that wire to kind of wedge itself in between the coils on the previous, on the wraps of the previous coils. And then wrap around the 18 again. And this will go a little easier if you move that one out of the way. And here you just do another 3/4 of an inch, and then we're going to finish this side off. Looks like I've gone a little bit past 3/4 of an inch. So just carefully unwrap it a few times. And that's about right. So go ahead and clip that piece of 28 gauge and press it down close to the 18 gauge wire. And now we're going to clip that piece of 18 gauge wire about 1/8 of an inch past the coil. Then you take your round nose pliers and curl that into a spiral. Push it onto the so it's centered on the side of the on that side of the pendant, and make sure it's flat against the prism. And now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Attach this one last time. Now if you've wrapped this as tight as you're supposed to, it might be a little bit difficult to get that wire in there. So just use a needle tool or a thin awl, or even a sewing pin. A straight pin, I mean. And just lift it up enough to get the wire in there. Then go ahead and finish that coil. And one way to make this part go faster, since there aren't any other wires to get in the way, just press your finger right at the edge of the coil and spin it. As long as you're holding it tight enough, you should get a nice, tight, even coil that way. Looks about right. And we'll just finish this off the same way we did the other one. Cut it about 1/8 of an inch past the coil. Now just make some adjustments to this top portion. Try to even it out a little bit. Now to add a necklace to it, just take whatever cord you want, that's about an inch longer than you want the necklace to be. Put it through that loop, open it up, then pull the ends of the cord back through itself. And there it is.